Hello, it's Craig Thompson, and this is the Stratford Slice.
Every community in this province would love to have the river system we have.
Stratford was founded on this water in 1832. This is how it powered all the factories around the river. Small things can add up to big things.
Yes.
And when you let it go, that's when things add up.
I was going to take the summer off from doing the podcast, but something has come up that I think is very, very important to talk about and raise several issues around it, and that has to do with the Avon River. The Avon River, as everybody agrees, is the jewel of Stratford's park system. It's home to the swans, place to have a wonderful picnic, take a boat tour, an oasis in the heart of our beautiful community, and of course home to the Rotary Dragon Boat Festival. But recently that piece has been shattered. A sudden drainage of the Avon River caused by a blockage at the Thomas Ord Dam has left the riverbed exposed and cherished community traditions and small businesses in jeopardy. And the story has, of course, captured national attention, appearing in headlines across Canada. Today on The Slice, I'm joined by two people whose lives and work are deeply connected to the river. Kelan Herr is the third-generation owner of the Boathouse, a family business that has welcomed visitors to the river for over 60 years. And Robert Ritz is the chair of the Rotary Dragon Boat Festival, which has raised more than $1 million over the years for community projects. Together, we're going to talk about what happened, how it's affecting Stratford, and what it will take to restore and protect this jewel in the heart of our town. So thanks, gentlemen, for joining on short notice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kelan, let's start with you because you were the first person to witness what was going on. Can you walk us through the timeline of when and what exactly happened?
Yeah, we started noticing on the Friday, so the 25th of July, that the water was down. Typically, after a rainstorm, you would notice that the water is a little bit higher. So when we're putting the boats in, we notice that they're sitting a little bit lower. People getting into tour boats were kind of stepping up or down to get into the boat. So that's when we started calling Upper Thames, just to let them know that the water was a little bit lower. That trend continued over the weekend, so we called them on Friday and then Saturday and Sunday as well to notify them that the water, I think it was around Saturday near the end of our day, that the water was no longer going over the spillway. And then Sunday morning, my dad came down. He's 55 years on the river. He noticed right away, he goes, the gate's open. So he called, let them know, and then they came down on Monday. And then that's when they started looking at options of clearing the debris from.
So it was 4 days between the time you first noticed before they sent somebody to take a look.
From what I observed,
Yeah.
right? So I noticed it on Friday. We called them. I don't know if they were down earlier. All I know is that I saw them there on Monday, and they were working on it to clear it out. So.
And tell me, from your perspective and your family's history on the river, has anything like this ever happened before? And what is the issue, as far as you know, that actually caused this problem?
So from my dad's experience, he's had this multiple times where debris will get blocked in the dam, in the gates. This year they used the north gate. Normally they used the south gate, but that got replaced. And then they had temporary blocks to create the reservoir for the swan parade and then also for us to get our boats in. So they utilized the north gate, which is scheduled to get replaced shortly. So typically what would happen is they open up the gate and they flush out the debris. That's what they did when they came on Monday. So they opened it. It was at about 1 inch of open, like it was open for 1 inch. They opened it. We saw some debris clear out. And then when they closed it, it was open greater. So it went to 1.7 inches. So the water level was already low. For them, I think from the conversations when I was there, when they were clearing it, there was a concern that if they opened it greater, that if it got stuck in an upward position, that the river and the reservoir would have evacuated a lot quicker than what they were hoping for. So not helping with the wildlife, and then also flood issues further down the river.
Do the gates open up like this, or do they open like a canal?
They open straight up, from my understanding. So they have sensors that read it. On the 25th, normally they have like sensors that will tell them that the gate's open or it's not at its lowest set point. From what was told to me, that their data center at the dam was wiped out during the storm, and so they didn't have any visibility of what was happening. So
Wow. So debris has. So you mentioned your father's always sort of noticed that there's been problems with debris. Isn't there a process in place when they lower the river in the wintertime to spend time clearing debris, or where does the debris come from? Would
yeah,
it?
it would be like we notice a lot of cut logs coming down the river. When they get up to the gate or near the gate, we call Upper Thames. Upper Thames comes, they clear it. Then we call the Parks Board. Parks Board comes, they clear it. They take it to wherever they need to take it.
Right.
So if it sits in the river and you know, it goes to the bottom, becomes a dead log, that's when you have problems at the gates.
So from what I'm envisioning, the gates are like this. So something like a garage door goes down, but something's preventing it from closing at the bottom because
That's
of the
correct.
debris. And it's mostly sticks and logs and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Robert, um, I was down at the river this morning and the dragon boats were being hoisted up by Stratford Crane. And I guess they're being moved. So tell us about the impact on the Rotary Dragon Boat Festival.
Well, I found out, heard about it, and then I was on holidays until the civic holiday weekend was over. And then Tuesday morning, I called UTRCA to see what we could do with this or how long will it take to fill it. Debating with them on how to fill it. And it came to me that there was a gravel pit upstream about 3K at Road 109 and suggested the idea of why can't we take water out of a gravel pit, put it in the river to fill the river? And they thought, well, it's possible. And they said it's been mentioned. And then later on, I found out that Sean Beach of the city of Stratford, he mentioned it. But it didn't go anywhere with Upper Thames. He just suggested it to them. I think we'll consider that, which is good. They were considering it. But then me calling 3 days later after the weekend, because I believe he called on the Thursday or Friday before the civic holiday weekend. And they said, okay. And then I was talking to him a bit. There's a bit of a friend connection with the guy that is in charge of managing water levels, Chris Tasker. And they started looking at it pretty seriously. And so they did a quick takeoff on how long it would take to fill the river. So 6-inch pumps running 24 hours a day for 2 weeks will fill the river, and it will drain the pit by about 3 feet. So, but before I called them, I called Mike Wilhelm, the owner of the pit, to make sure he was on board before I would suggest it to Upper Thames. And they were fine. And then 6-inch pumps, they said, well, City of Stratford has pumps. So I contacted CAO Adam Betteridge, and he said, hey, if you've got Upper Thames willing to accept Mike Wilhelm's water, we'll provide the pumps. We'll take care of that. And in fact, after this podcast, we're going to be meeting with the ministry and the city at the gravel pit to discuss the how to do it.
Is there an environmental issue why they can't transfer the water from one body to another?
Here's the rest of the story.
Okay.
So, and the ministry's been really good. So once I was finding this with Upper Thames, they said yes. And then they said, well, there's other issues you got to address. You got to address flow. You got to address aquatic life. So I phoned up a company that dewaters projects. In fact, the company dewatered Patterson Theater when they were building. This is in construction.
What's dewatering? Or taking water out of a construction site?
Like taking it out of the hole while you build the building.
Right.
So similar process, taking water out of a gravel pit. He said, well, we don't have engineers on staff to determine that, but I got an engineer for you. So I called him up, Ed, and Ed was great. He jumped on it right away. He's with Springworks out of Cambridge, and he said he got on it, and he started running some numbers. I told him what Upper Thames said, and he's just been a hero and his last name is Gatzenman. And he came on site. So get the process. So I call him 2 days. So that was last week. Monday, he was on site, sent a note to the ministry that he's in motion, I think on Friday. We met the ministry yesterday on Zoom. And today the ministry is coming to the site. Ed was trying to make it, he called it an emergency in quotes. And the ministry said, well, it's not an emergency under their definition of emergency, but there is an urgency. Okay. And they said, we'll do anything to help the community and to make this happen. So Ed's company then did water testing, temperature, pH, other factors, and cross-sections of the river to make sure it can handle the potential increase in water flow. And then when they brought in the idea of issues with potential aquatic life, spawning, that sort of thing, Ed brought in a biologist who's looking at it to answer those questions. And so basically, we're trying to, and the ministry and Ed are working very closely together to just check off the boxes. The ministry said, when you submit the application, let us know, and we'll move the request from the bottom of the pile to the top of the pile because of the effects it has on the city of Stratford. So you can't beat the ministry. You got to give them plus, plus, plus for that.
So, Robert, what are the chances the water from the Wilhelm pit will get transferred into the river? What are the next steps?
Okay, so the Wilhelm pit is shared with, it's one pit, but the east section is owned by Perth East. So we also had to ask Perth East for their permission. They're fine with allowing us to use the water. And the next steps is meeting today, figure out if we can pump it, get the sign off. Once we have the approvals, our cutoff date for pumping water is August the 22nd. And that gives us 2 weeks to fill it by September the 6th, which is really tight from our end for laying out the race course.
For the Rotary Dragon Boat Festival.
For the Dragon Boat Festival. In fact, sooner is always better.
So on a chance of 1 to 10, what are the chances of this pumping project working?
Well, so once we start it, we got to monitor the river to make sure it's not affecting the river adversely. And if it isn't, the process keeps going. So pumping date, and then a week later, the end of August, we'll know for sure if it's a go for the rest of the time to fill it. And then let's see how long it takes to fill it. And hopefully we have a couple rainfalls along the way to shorten that timeline.
Now, our river is fed by a combination of runoff from snow, rainwater, and spring water. Is that right, Kelan? Can you tell us where the water comes from to feed the Avon River?
Yeah, there's tributaries that feed it. It's spring fed. So there's one on Mornington Street where that white farm is right by the bend. There's a spring there that feeds the river. So like you're saying, it's rainfall and then how the springs sit, how fast the river fills.
Mm-hmm.
So yesterday, I think it went up 43 inches or 43 centimeters.
Because of the rainstorm yesterday. Yeah.
So that was on Upper Thames page. So we're about 1.3 meters short from where it normally is. So it's a drop in the bucket and it's getting there. But actions like what Mr. Ritz is doing right now and the Rotary Club and the ministry and stuff like that can definitely help speed it up if it's safe to do it, right?
Now, Robert, you mentioned an air quotes emergency. I believe there was a motion in front of City Council on Monday night, or a mention of a motion to declare an urgent or a state of emergency. While it may not be an urgency, it is. Do you not think it's an urgent matter for our economy and tourist economy in Stratford to declare sort of a state of urgent critical attention for this?
What's interesting, it's happening without it. I'm really impressed how the ministry is moving on this, and Upper Thames again. Upper Thames has been very cooperative. And so it's in motion. So I wasn't at council. I was steering a dragon boat on Wildwood because I wanted to check it out, see what it's like at this time of the year. But also it's in motion. I did speak with the mayor on Monday at lunch, and we were on the island, and he said, I think it'll fill up without doing this. And I'm going, well, I'm going to make sure we can fill it. If they allow it, let's fill it. Yeah. We need a lot of rain. Upper Thames really can't give us a time or a date on when it could be full. It's all weather dependent. And if it was continuing as it would have been beyond Thanksgiving. So we got what? You said 43 millimeters. You think if we had that rain every day to hit our numbers, we're past the Dragon Boat Festival.
That's
in
right.
just time.
And even if we pray for rain, Kelan, that is not going to help your business because your business is a sunshine business. So tell me, what has been the impact on your family's business and the response to the crisis?
So the business is paused from the boating standpoint. So on Monday we put some boats down at the old beach on the north side, and so we've been doing paddle boat rentals from there, canoes, kayaks, but it's definitely at a smaller scale than what we normally would have. So the response, we've been just trying to focusing on, people going out on picnics, taking bikes, coming down to our food portion and enjoying the space, bringing different businesses down so we can have a conversation about the impact that this river has on Stratford. So a lot of people don't realize that, Stratford was founded on this water in 1832. This is how it powered all the factories around the river. And then in 1910, it was a big effort to make it green space that really helped develop the culture of Stratford, deterring the railways from going along, which would have went right through the path of the Stratford Festival. Would Stratford be the Stratford that we have today without this park system? So I think this has definitely brought light into how important this river is in the park system of Stratford and how it is part of our culture and our identity. And it definitely brings on greater conversations about how do we preserve it? How do we prevent things like this happening again? And how do we prevent the garbage, the debris that goes into the river? How do we prevent that from happening? And how do we clean it up?
That's a good question. It's a wake-up call for the community to remind us how important and integral it is to our business, to our economy, to our whole way of our community culture. So what lessons are we learning from this, and how can we prevent this from happening again in the future?
Well, one idea, and Cal and I were talking about this, is if we see debris in the river, have some protocol where we remove the debris versus just going by it on my dragon boat. We've seen debris. The guys will try to grab the log, but you don't realize that there's 80% of it's underwater, waterlogged. And so it's quite heavy. So we almost need, like, I don't know if you have a motorboat, but do a patrol or report to you or to whoever we've seen navigational hazards. And you might want to pull them, but those navigational hazards will mess with the dam, as we now know.
What surprised me about seeing the river drop almost below winter levels is how shallow the river is, especially below the Festival Theater up at the other end. And it made me think, well, do you think we need to dredge the river a little bit further, or is there something we can do to improve the flow of water? What can we do in the terms of the size and scope of the river, do you think?
I'm smiling because it's really an Upper Thames thing, but Mike Wilhelm said, hey, if you need somebody to dredge that river, give me a call. So the guy that's given us the water is looking for some possible work.
Do you agree that that's one option?
I don't know. I'm not Upper Thames, and the basin is designed to take the water from the idea of the whole Conservation Authority system is to ensure that, especially Upper Thames, is that we don't flood out Chatham like we did in the day.
Right.
And again, just going back a point, the reason Stratford's where it is because of the river itself. That's where they had to cross the river to continue on their path up the Huron Trail.
That's right.
And the water was flowing at that point because there is a drop, obviously. And
we had the mill at Huron Street.
Yes. And so that's what you said it, Kelan. It's drove the initial start of the city of Stratford, because that's why we're not 10 miles north or 10 miles south or downstream or upstream. It's where the Huron Trail had to cross. Those surveyors just wanted to run straight lines.
I know neither of you are hydrologists or experts in dams, but the dam has been around for a long time. 1964. There must be new technology available that might be able to mitigate the risks that are currently impacting the river.
There's always cost. Upper Thames would probably, all conservation authorities would need funds from the
provincial government.
Yeah, and I don't know how much Doug Ford is a fan of conservation authorities, so who knows?
So the big issue is monitoring debris in the future. That's what both of you agree is the best.
Yeah, and I think it's like attention to detail. When you see garbage pick it up,
Yes.
leave the space clean. It's always just the 1-2% of people that leave garbage. There's, people that throw things in the water. Every morning I get down there and it's, beer bottles, cigarettes, everything they just
Water bottles.
water bottles in the river, and that's what we have to clean up. The cenotaph, which is supposed to be a space of respect and memory, a lot of garbage is left there, and it's always just 1 or 2 people. The majority of people clean up. There's garbages there, but how do we prevent that?
Mhm.
I see the Rotary Club every week. They come around and they pick up garbage, and then that's a great help. We have our staff and ourselves. We do that in our area.
And the city's on top of it too, I believe, because you always see them going out dumping garbage pails. Again, it's just getting the people to take the garbage from where they are to a garbage pail or a recycle
But
container.
it's the attention to detail. It's like when you see small things can add up to big things.
Yes.
And when you let it go, that's when things add up and it results in an event. And
Yeah,
that's what we're seeing.
And going back to when I steer, I come by your place and go by the dam, and I'm always amazed that we have all those logs or whatever you want to call
Weirs.
them.
Weirs?
Well, not the weirs,
Oh.
but the debris being
it's
caught
By the weir.
in front of it, because in the day there wasn't a weir and it collected at the top of the spillway.
Right.
I think let's just get rid of the stuff that's going up there, or
Yeah.
grab it before it gets there, or take it out in the morning, and have some protocol about that or how to do that. It's again a work in progress, obviously, and now we just got to make sure it happens, because who would have thought the river would be drained in the middle of summer?
When I walked across the dam just after this incident occurred, I think there were 2 or 3 mangled bicycles that they had dug out there. So people are throwing bikes in there. It just, a few people are spoiling it for the others, right?
Yeah, I think there's Joe, the kid with the magnet. He goes around and he pulls out the bikes. He got over 20 the last time I talked to him. So 20 bikes that were found in the river by the dam.
He goes around in a boat with a...
No, he fishes from the shoreline. So he does magnet
Well, that's
fishing.
what he's doing.
Yeah, and so he pulled out 20 of them. He was mostly going on the far side, the lower basin. And when I talked to him last, 20 bikes.
20 bicycles.
Yeah.
Well, they steal bikes to get somewhere and then just toss them.
Yeah. That's incredible. So the river is managed by the Upper Thames Region Conservation Authority. The Parks Board of Stratford looks after the shoreline. The cleanup, you're suggesting, should be a community involvement, but I imagine there are a lot of rules and protocols in place regarding how to clean up the river. So how are you suggesting we all work together to make sure that the debris is cleared?
My understanding is the shoreline is also UTRCA. City of Stratford, manages the lawns, and
they trim the trees and collect the branches.
Yes. And I think that's what's going to be the next step from the city's side, is that they've asked Upper Thames to do a debrief on it and to go over the items we've just talked about, what it caused it,
how not to happen again,
and how to do it at no cost to the taxpayer, like the cleanup. And again, we got volunteer groups like Rotary, but again, there's potential liability with people doing things, and if they get hurt, then we're always worried about people and suing the city, and so they're very cautious of that. But again, you go into it in a good round table or a workshop and just hammer it out and have the key partners there, such Kelan, us at Rotary, the users, other users of the river,
Summer Music,
Razmajazz, ask a swan.
Speaking of wildlife, let's talk about the wildlife, Kelan. You're closest to the river, so talk to me about what you've observed about the wildlife and what measures were taken to make sure that they were not impacted even more severely.
Yeah, so Upper Thames brought a team down, and they used it to clear up mussels from dry areas and relocate them to areas that they don't drown. Put in precautions of not stepping into the mud because it depletes the oxygen, which can drown some of the wildlife in that area. You're seeing a lot more ducks. You're seeing a lot more birds of prey because of the opportunity that they have. So you're seeing
to harvest the mussels. Yeah,
that's correct. So, you can see Upper Thames doing an effort to help protect in this situation, to mitigate any of the wildlife, because that was one of the core elements, that the reason why they slow drained it was to allow that the fish and the mussels have an opportunity to find the streams.
Right. And where did the swans go?
The swans are on the river.
They found there's enough water on the north side for them to spend.
Yeah. Like in our area, I think we're around 5 feet right now by the boathouse. You'll see them come down. Normally, they like to go down the tributaries down by Mornington Street, up by the golf course, but that's too shallow. So they'll find space.
They'll be back once the river is back up to the level, right?
And you got to admire Upper Thames because they are doing their job as a conservation authority.
Yeah.
You know,
They are.
care of
That's their
things.
job. Conservation. We rely on them to create this
Right.
tourism experience, but their ultimate goal is water management in the whole watershed, right?
It was a nice spin-off, the tourism experience. But then we always had a dam before the conservation authorities existed
Oh, is that right?
to create the
Tourism experience.
Because you look at some of those vintage photos of the regattas at the old boathouse, and when the kids used to swim from the North Shore before
Yeah.
the Lions Pool was developed, and
Well, I have
it's a rich
person-
history.
I have a
River.
personal connection to the boathouse because I worked for the parks department as a kid, as a teenager, and I taught canoeing at the with your grandfather was my
Ed.
supervisor.
Yeah, you were
old
telling
dad.
me that. So there's so many people that come down to the boathouse and share those experiences about doing the canoeing, having the first time on the water, experiencing that, and it's really great to hear those stories of people that really are enjoying this park system, and it's really important that we keep this park system going and make sure that we're maintaining it.
Absolutely. And a funny story about the canoe lessons. When you're teaching canoeing, you have to teach people how to exit the canoe.
That's the big
So
story.
we had to move to the Lions Pool because nobody wanted to flip in the Avon River because of concerns about what was in the water. So the canoeing, the paddling experience was on the river, but when it came time for the emergency exit, we went over to the Lions Pool and tipped the canoes over there. So,
Learn how to get
Yeah.
out of a tipped canoe. For
Well,
sure.
when I teach my staff, we don't do that. So we have like a canoeist that comes in and wants to teach them level 1. So this year it got delayed because of the water. They were going to do it, but we would just flip it right in the river.
Yeah.
So
Get used to it.
get used to it.
It's not that bad.
No.
Now, Kelan, this is ironic because this is the first summer that you've come back on a full-time basis, or is it the second summer that you're involved in the business? Like, why did you come back, and what's in your heart about keeping this tradition going?
Yeah, so my parents did it for 30 years. My grandparents did it for 30 years. So my parents retired, quote unquote, because they're still down there. My mom seems to be down there every day, and we have to tell her, go home, go retire, go enjoy your life.
Go retire.
Go retire.
And my dad's the same thing. He comes down, just checks in on us and makes sure everything's going well because it's part of his identity. Like
Yeah.
he's been there for 55 years. My sister and I, we really wanted to carry on the tradition because it's for us, it's the park, the river is really part of what Stratford is. And to be able to give that experience to community members, visitors, is something that we feel strongly about. And it's such a great space to, who doesn't want to be out on a boat all day, putting people in the canoes and have good interactions with them. Like it's kind of a no-brainer to me to transition and carry on the family business.
And what are you noticing about the visitor experience? Because I am seeing a lot of people from different cultures coming to Stratford now, enjoying the parks and having a picnic, and not necessarily coming just for the theater. They're coming for the whole experience. Tell me about what you've observed in terms of the visitors coming to Stratford.
Yeah, I think that's something we really noticed during COVID was that people were starting to travel more localized and more, like you said, different cultures coming to Stratford and experiencing, the park systems, the theaters, the shops, and what Stratford has to offer. And everybody is always amazed of like the beauty, the community, how everybody is like so nice. You go into a shop, everybody will direct you where to go, what experiences you can go to. So it really has a good community spirit. So I think a lot of people appreciate that to experience it. So,
And of
Yeah.
course, we have the music right adjacent to the Boathouse, the summer music concerts, which were wonderful during the time they were there.
yeah, and even the Razzmatazz, like being able to go walk out to a play and then hear the music around the river 3 days a week is an amazing experience.
As you're
And
walking to the play. Yeah.
yeah, and then I think they're looking to do some matinees as well because I know when the Razzmatazz, when I grew up, they did matinees and then they did the evening. So they play music as you went to the matinee, and then they played music as
Yeah.
you went to the play in the evening. So I think talking to Dan Scarborough, they're looking at how to do that, but it's always has to do with funding.
Yeah.
So
And then there is the tourism aspect. Even with the Dragon Boat Festival, we have teams that were concerned about a potential cancellation. And they said, well, we've booked tickets and we've got rooms rented and we've got reservations at restaurants. So you can't cancel it. We're coming anyway. It's like, we got to come. And so that's why we have I'm driving, try to make this happen, but it's all about biology. But we also have, we're right now laying out Wildwood as if it's a no in Stratford. But it's good. It's amazing how much tourism comes in on the Dragon Boat Festival. And we started looking at it, and I believe it's like $150,000 of
Indirect
to the city because of the Dragon Boat Festival. And it generates about $40,000 to $50,000 a year for the Rotary Club, our largest fundraiser, to support community projects that we have, such as hospice, respite, the rec complex. We've got obligations we have to meet.
So there's a good chance that if you were an insurance guy, that we can have enough water in the river for the September, or it's still.
No, I'll take the optimistic farmer Martin. He believes that'll happen, but I'm hoping. But if I was betting, I would bet on a sure win, which would be Wildwood. But because I don't know yet. Like, things could turn today when I meet with the ministry.
Right, exactly.
Right. It's
so
like,
it's a hope and pray situation.
Yeah,
right
it's
now.
sort of like, it's not as serious as having an illness, but you're sort of waiting on the results.
Exactly.
Right? And will it go or not go?
What will the doctor say?
Yes.
Exactly.
That's exactly.
If there's any good that comes out of this, Kelan, I want to talk to you about the community reaction to the Boathouse. And has this been a bit of a turning point for you to realize how strong a community we have, the support you've received?
Yeah, the support has been amazing, from like the city to Upper Thames, but then also the businesses and then the community members, the residents of Stratford coming down. We had that little small bucket challenge. I know it was a symbolic thing, but having those businesses come down, show their support, learn a little bit more of what the Boathouse and the history of it, and then what we offer today, was great. Just random people coming down and telling us a story, or having the impact of what the lack of river has on them.
Mm-hmm.
Hearing those stories kind of really humbles you, and also makes you realize how lucky and fortunate we are to be in a position to have a business here in Stratford. So the silver lining is being grateful of our community and what we're doing. People putting great ideas in place to see how we can mitigate and how we can move forward. And then also people looking at the conservation level as well. So
and support Stratford Crane Service, who helped pull the boats out today, gave us up to $2,000 of in-kind sponsorship for the Dragon Boat Festival, help make it happen.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So you got to admire that. And we have other sponsors that do the same thing for the event, but here's a group coming through. And if we can't have it in Stratford, then I'm going to have to talk to the sponsors about, are you going to stay in even though it's in Wildwood? And if we have to use some of the cash you give us for community projects to subsidize the cost of the event. Now, we're still doing the math on that because we have other sources of funds besides those sponsorships, but it's just a backup.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, you got to make sure that if the plane doesn't fly, you got a parachute that works, right?
Exactly, yeah. Kelan, is there a time for your business to recover in the fall if the river gets filled up in times for early September?
We really won't be able to recover from August. Like, August is 40% of our business. The long weekend, that covers, 10% of it. So it's a big hit. So we won't be able to recover, but if there's water in there, we're able to, do our business as normal. It would definitely help. I won't be able to recover, but nothing you can do about that right now.
How has the food business helped keep things a little more stable?
It's allowed us to keep the staff. And that's the key thing, was we wanted to make sure we have 14 staff members. So we did have to put a pause on a couple. There's a retiree that was kind of just doing this as a fun thing in the summer. And then we had some really young students that, weren't really dependent on the income. So we made sure that we kept the people that were going to university employed and keeping their hours the same.
Good for you.
That's why we
Congratulations.
really want to keep the boats in the water. That's why we're putting them in now. It's not going to replace the income, but it's going to be able to help subsidize the cost of having these staff members. But the resilience of them, like they came up with the bucket challenge. They've
Your
learned new.
employees? Yeah.
Yes, they came up with the TikTok, and they thought of like this would be a fun way of bringing people in. My sister was really for it, so we're like, let's try it. Learning new skills from going from doing a tour boat and doing a boat to now doing restaurant and food preparation. So I'm really, really impressed with like the ability of these students and these young kids to adapt. So
Oh, great.
Um, as we wrap this up, let's give the listeners and viewers something that they can do themselves. And I'm going to start off because the Rotary Dragon Boat Festival is very, very important. So a call out to anybody who will be able to come forward with sponsorship or donation to support the Rotary Dragon Boat Festival, no matter where it happens, whether it's at the Avon River location or at Wildwood. That is one thing. Can you, each of you, suggest what people listening or watching can take upon themselves to be involved or support?
Yeah, if it happens in Stratford, come on down for sure. But if it goes to Wildwood, come out to Wildwood and support us there. We're thinking of doing a tap and pay type donation thing. And with the added cost of being at Wildwood, it'd be nice to have some additional funds to cover that. So that would be a way to do it. But again, my real dream is seeing it in Stratford.
And how can we help a small business like Kelan's business, because it's not a charity like Rotary? So what
Buy ice cream.
what are the ways of helping the Boathouse?
yeah, Ritz said, come down, get some ice cream, come see the river, go on a paddle boat, go see the river from a different perspective that you can now that the water's up a little bit. And then just be mindful of the space. Be mindful of the parks when you see something. Respect the space that we're so grateful to have and enjoy it.
Yeah, it's truly a blessing. Every community in this province would love to have the river system we have.
Absolutely.
And they try, and it doesn't even come close to ours.
Well, I think there's a lot of attention on environmental issues now. We're worried about climate change. And while this particular incident may not be related directly to climate change, it does focus our attention on the fragility of the river ecosystem and reminds us that we can't take it for granted at all.
And what's really fitting is that they named the dam after Thomas Orr, the man, Stratford citizen, who really pushed the idea of this park system. And again, if it wasn't for him or people like him after him and a bit before him to make this city grow and develop, we wouldn't have such a great city. We all have our part.
That's great. Well, thanks to both of you for coming in on short notice. Let's put a call out for people if they want to help. How can they help Rotary? How can they help the Boathouse? How do they get in touch?
Go to our website for the Dragon Boat Festival. That's the best way to make things happen through us.
And Kelan?
Yeah, same thing. You can just come down and visit us or check out our website if you want to buy boat rentals, if you want to do gift cards for next season. That stuff is always appreciated.
Great. Well, thanks very much, you guys. And it's been a pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Craig.